The Speed Coaching Series is really a unique opportunity for SMEs to connect with industry leaders in South Africa, entrepreneurs that have been there and done it all. We really think that this is an opportunity for SMEs to learn, engage, and find some key nuggets that can help them in their own growth journey.
The goal of the series is to bring together SMEs and top entrepreneurs from various industries to engage together in an interactive session of mentoring and coaching. The kind of challenges that SMEs face in South Africa is really about survival and sustainability. Many SMEs struggle to get the funding for working capital, but also funding to grow.
The other aspect is obviously access to market and being more competitive in terms of their own growth. But if we take a step back and just look at the basics, the fundamentals is how do we get companies to at least have sustainable companies in terms of their finances, their cash flows, and if you get the fundamentals right, the rest are then building blocks in terms of their growth story.
What I hope this series will aim to achieve is that in the future or a year or so, we'll see SMEs achieve their growth objective, grow their businesses to such an extent they increase the number of people they employ, and also play quite a prominent role in the economy of the country.
The Speed Coaching Series brings together industry experts and entrepreneurs that have been there and done that. And the benefit for SMEs that participate in this series is really that they, one, get to interact with these experts directly and ask them the questions that they need to know in terms of growing their own businesses. But more than that, we've focused the topics on subjects that SMEs really want to know about. Everything from how to sustainably drive cash flow, manage their finances.
The series will cover a variety of topics, what the SMEs need from the mentors. So it could go from marketing, how to actually grow your business, how to manage your business financially, looking at operational advice, but also leadership advice for those entrepreneurs who are planning to grow their businesses. We have a marketing plan in place to encourage SMEs to participate. All you have to do is to register for free, and then the session will be live streamed on YouTube. Thereafter, you'll have access to watch it.
This is an amazing opportunity for SMEs, so we encourage each and every SME in South Africa to join us. The session is free, they can register online and take full advantage of the opportunity to connect with amazing industry experts and leaders and hopefully learn a thing or two for their own business growth. Good day, entrepreneurs, and welcome to another season of the JSE SME Speed Coaching. I am Cleola Konene, and I head up SME development as well as strategic initiatives at the JSE. The SME Speed Coaching seasons have been so much fun when we've dealt with everything from building a sustainable brand to financial health of your business. And now we are entering into a new season and we're talking about optimizing your value chain, everything from people, processes to systems. And I have phenomenal guests with me today. I'd like to welcome Sithembile Ntombela and Luann Jones, who I'll ask the ladies to introduce themselves because they have such impressive credentials. I don't think I can do it justice. Sithembile, do you mind if we start with you?
Thank you, Cleola. I'm Sithembile Ntombela, and currently I'm the acting CEO of Brand South Africa. But I come with a wealth of experience in the marketing fraternity. I have 22 years in marketing, so I've had my fair share of fun working for, multinationals, for FMCG, so your big companies such as Unilever, your Tiger Brands, Food Corp, Nampec, and eventually my passion had to diversify. I had to go into a different space, destination marketing, which I've been sort of stuck in for the past 11 years, and I'm enjoying the ride. As fascinating and as challenging as it is, but yeah, and over the years, one has had to learn from diverse environment, how each department, must speak to each other. So yeah, I look forward to the session today.
No, thank you very much for being here, and you're doing a phenomenal job as acting CEO.
Thank you.
And it's good to see, that Brand SA is being run by a very competent leader. So we're looking forward to your insights as well. Luann, thank you so much for being here today.
It's my pleasure.
Please tell us a little bit more about what you do and your bio.
Okay, so thank you very much for having me. My name is Luann Jones. I am an HR practitioner. I've been in the HR space, the people space, for about 29 years now. Started off as a trainee in the HR space, and I'm now Vice President Human Resources for a food manufacturing company.
Louine, that is an impressive journey. I always think, business is easy, people are hard.
Absolutely.
People are the hardest thing. So when we talk about optimizing your value chain, I think we really need to delve into that people aspect today.
The JSE offers SMEs the opportunity to fast-track their business potential and bridge the funding gap to grow. We aim to harness the potential of our SME sector and provide insights and network building for the incubation, acceleration, and capital raising stages of private companies in South Africa. Our priority is to nurture your business prosperity.
We as a company really are very passionate about growing the economy, supporting the people of South Africa, whether it's employment creation, whether it's being more competitive, and of course attracting more investment into the country. And a big part of that is, having the new NASPASs, the new old mutuals of the future. And that can only happen through significant support. So that was the inspiration, right? We are doing more than just the acceleration program. We're driving a lot of initiatives in terms of SME development.
Find out more about our SME initiatives at www.jse.co.za/SME.
So let's start off. When we think about a value chain, and Stimbili, I'll start with you. We often equate a value chain to manufacturing, lean processes, technology. But in fact, it's everything, people, it's processes, it's systems, it's costs. And for a small business, what are some of the top things that you think they should consider when they look at a value chain? What is a value chain to begin with?
Cleola, in simply put, a value chain, to me, I would define it as various departments or aspects that one needs to consider to bring one overall objective, or outcome to life. So in this instance, and based on my experience, I can tell you that the value chain would involve, for instance, somebody that does the books, in simple terms. So you will need somebody that has, experience in financial management of accounts, of books, and is able to have foresight of issues, such as risks, such as, the balance sheets. You have to understand the basics. Am I making money or am I not making money? Similarly, as you would need another aspect, if you are in product, for instance, business or manufacturing, you will need an expert from a production perspective, that will be able to ensure that you have the right machine, you have the right people, in jobs, and you basically understand the dynamics and the intricacies that are involved from that perspective. What is important is to understand that there are different divisions. They each have a role and different, KPIs, but there's one common denominator, and that is to talk about profitability, to make your business a success. So, the left hand has to know what the right hand is doing. So the value chain speaks to those various aspects. That do you have the right people, on board, and that speaks to the HR aspect of things, because they must bring competent and skilled people for you to be able, to produce what you have to do, or to reach your optimum goal. And then again, on the other hand, you have the right people that are going to be able to preempt what the supply and demand, dynamics are, and you have the right people that are able to give you the prices, for instance, to work on the pricing. So for me, the value chain, depending on any business, it has to tick those boxes and understand the basics. But at the basic element of it all, you have to have the right people. So I think HR becomes very important, because then they have that foresight in terms of providing you with the right resources, and even doing an OD, for instance, for you to say, basically, as a small upcoming business, you don't need 10 people. Actually, you can start with 3. So I think value chains are important from understanding that each and everyone has a role to play from respective divisions, ultimately contributing to one value proposition that is, cemented within the organization and in terms of outputs and outcomes.
And you use such an important word, value proposition,
Yeah.
and the word value, and in that chain of activities and people and events, what is value, what is tangible value, value to the
Exactly.
client, value to your business. And as you said, you can be profitable, but you need to understand how everything comes together to deliver that at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And being in marketing, you would need one of the components of the value chain is who is going to be your custodian and the spokesperson of your brand in terms of, communicating things such as, differentiation, things such as value itself that you will derive from that particular, whether it's a brand or it's a product, it really doesn't matter, it's a service. But ultimately you will need that. So that is why in a value chain, you just have to cross-reference and make sure what are the really basic needs that I need and what is the outcome, and aligning people within those value chain is quite equally important, because people have got to understand the rules of engagement, what is the expectation, and to what end are we doing what we are doing.
No, definitely. Do we?
If I could just add, so we're speaking directly to small business, and what is important to understand, or what is important to note in terms of a value chain, is what is my service or what is my product? And because we are in such a competitive environment, it's important that whatever you deliver on, whether it's a service or a product, you deliver excellence, because that is what is going to keep you in the game, and that is what is going to make you competitive.
Yes.
Now, the value chain is to make sure that every step of the way in terms of delivering that product or delivering that service, there's excellence in each space. So to your point, whether it's marketing, how effective is marketing, and what are they cognizant of providing an excellent service within the organization? Similarly with HR. So your value chain is many organizations make the mistake of wanting to do quality assurance at the end of the line, instead of making sure that they provide quality assurance in every step of the process. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
That makes absolute sense. So even if you are a 3-man operation,
Yeah.
if you understand your value chain,
Yes.
like you said, step by step, you can map it out and you can ensure that it's brilliant,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
I absolutely love that. And I just wanna ask a follow-up question. When we talk about optimization and like those building blocks of a value chain, how do you actually start looking at that, considering, because I'm this, I've got a small business, I may be delivering service, or I may be even at ideation stage, right? How do you start thinking, and what are the things actually in that value chain that you need to consider,
So in terms of optimizing a particular process or optimizing productivity, it's really important to understand, and I'm going to come back to my previous statement. It's really important to understand the deliverable of each step in the process, and once you begin to understand that and unpack that, it's in that process that you would then try and determine how to optimize that space, or optimize the time, or optimize productivity. But it's really understanding what is required in every step of the process. And I think as small business, we tend to rush things. So if I can just step back a bit, when you start a business, it's because you have a passion for one particular area of the business. So if I use myself as an example, if I had to start a business, I would most probably go into the HR space, into the consulting.
Yes.
But what I need to understand that a business is not just what I know. It's marketing, it's finance, it's IT, it's various disciplines that come into that particular process, or in that particular space, to then build the business. And so it's important that I as the entrepreneur, take cognizance of the fact that in order for me to grow my business, I have to add more disciplines to grow the business. And through that process, by co-opting skills and expertise in that space, I then can grow the business to an optimal level. If I don't co-opt and if I don't employ or I don't buy those skills, it means that I'm just going to stay as a one-man band or one man, you know, and so my business will be as big as me in terms of the time that I have, the intellect, the competency that I have. But once I begin to understand that business involves more than just the product or the service that I'm offering as an entrepreneur, and I begin to employ or buy or I wanted to use the word rent, but
or collaborate,
collaborate with different disciplines. I'm then able to grow my business from one level to the next level.
No, and that's absolutely true. I agree with that. You know, even as you're developing your business plan, you have to consider all those aspects. You know, I can do a delivery service, and all I'm thinking about is delivering from point A to point B. I'm not considering, you know, what's the best method to work out the fuel pricing, what's the best place, you know, like all of those things. And there's so many aspects that one needs to consider, even in the smallest or the most straightforward or seemingly straightforward business, right? Because every business has a value chain. So, you know, going back to the delivery example, which boxes are you using? Where do you get the pricing things, you know? And then you need to actually, when you get there, someone needs to pay. How are they going to pay? How, you know, you actually need to then co-opt, as you say, though, even if you're not necessarily immediately hiring, even at ideation stage, you need to co-opt those skills and those different value aspects in order to build that out. And then as you grow, then bring those in order for you to actually grow as a business and offer tangible and successful and quality service. I'm going to just ask you, Tembile, because you're leading a successful organization, and I want to start leaning into the people aspect. In, you know, growing the business or maintaining the business, how do you look at that value chain in terms of people as a capital and as a resource in terms of really determining the type of business that you have and how that business succeeds or fails?
I'm glad that you touch on the critical aspects that, you know, people are seen as assets. And I think the world will be so much peaceful, especially in the corporate world, when people understood that you wouldn't actually have to find a number of people starting their own businesses, because that's the number one reason why people leave companies. You know,
Yes.
it's really to say, but you didn't value me. So part of people management, in my view, is quite important in that once you've understood, fine, you know, I always say to small business people, when you start your own ideation, you just do yourself a favor. When you're all, you know, sitting by yourself and you're reflecting, do what you call a scoping. Where are you going with your business? Because actually, if you understand why you're doing it and possibly have a vision in terms of where you are going, you would know more or less the starting point in terms of the human warm bodies that you need. And once
Yes.
you know the people aspect in terms of people that you need, then you would actually even have an insight in terms of the skills that people require, right?
Yes.
And when you have the skill in terms of the competencies, the technicalities that you require, it makes your life much easier, because then we start to speak of capital investment when you speak in human terms.
Yes.
So my success has told me that if you keep things basic and you tell people about the value proposition of the organization, so vis-a-vis this time when you're talking about this SMMEs, you'll have to say why you must come and work for me, you know, and not the other people. That must be very clear, because it creates resonance, you know, in terms of understanding the values that are driven at that level. That is why equally important next to people are values. In fact, at the foundation of strategy, whether you are an SMME or you are a big corporate, what is important is at the cement, at the foundation of the strategy is the people's aspect that comes to life and it's encapsulated within the values, so that you're giving people an opportunity, number one, to understand what is it that you are offering through your value proposition that must be online and visible either on your website or in the social media platforms? And number two, what sort of value, where am I getting myself into? And can I really be adaptable? Because then you're giving people an opportunity to choose up front if this is an environment that I would want to work in, or actually no, this is not who I am from a values perspective. And then in you able to do your what you call the guru here will tell me, but we call it an HR plan or a demand, but it's based on really your demand because it's informed by your strategy. So if you know your strategy, hey, I would need 3 people or I would need, 5 people. It will tell you more or less, okay, my starting point, at least as a small business person, I must start feeling, getting these 4 people. And this is the area of skills I'm looking for. And this is the place that they are coming to. So for me, being visible and being open about those basics, because we have to be brilliant at basics, you would have mastered the kind of caliber of people that you want to attract. And then the challenge will be just maintaining and or retaining, as you would call it. And that is something that you can be, worked with over time as you, every year on year, you renew or you retweak your value chain processes.
I really like what you said about starting with your value proposition and your values.
Yes.
And it's that example, of where the Americans would go to the moon, and they asked this janitor at NASA, and he said, I'm working towards going to the moon. I paraphrase, of course. But that, really is a fundamental. Why are you there? Why would I be here? And often I find entrepreneurs complain, and they're like, these people are just not as passionate about the business as I am, and I find myself constantly, but why are they there? They don't really buy into it.
Yeah, it's because probably it's not articulated. And sometimes we articulate things, but you don't live. You have to live the brand, live your business, live the actual dream. Because it's actually, I think the emotions, energies, for me, the vibe, when we sit with each other and we say, yeah, the vibe is good. It's real. When people see the passion, they get it. And it's translatable, if I can call it, it's transmitted. And the dream is articulated in the sense that your vision is clear. And I think we fail as people, as leaders, as business owners, to actually transmit the level of understanding of that vision to the next person, including the security guard, so that everybody understands your proposition in terms of what's your one-time proposition. That when I go through from employee 1 to employee 10, they understand exactly why they're in this. And more than anything, that encapsulation of the vision has to touch, I find, other people, which is why you find most people leaning towards more purposeful businesses or creating more purposeful business models. It's because it resonates very well. It actually makes you feel good to be part of a journey of somebody that is working towards a bigger picture.
Exactly.
It's more serving than self-serving type of a thing. Yeah.
So I know why I'm here.
Yeah.
So whether we're starting in a garage or whether we're in a 20-story building, the why is there, and I know why I'm there.
Yeah.
Louine, Stemde spoke about the foundation, right? And when you start thinking about the recruitment process or the planning of employees, what are those considerations? Because you're thinking, okay, I know what where I want to grow to. How do you even start? Do you just start mapping and saying, I need 10 people?
Yeah. I think the point that I want to make first in terms of your question is that I think the stats are as high as 90% or 95% of small businesses fail in the first 2 years. And I would like to think that the reason being is because the entrepreneur does not know when to let go. And so I suppose many businesses started from a particular idea, and it started because of an individual that has been passionate about something. But the businesses that grow, the businesses that survive, are the businesses where the entrepreneur has the wisdom to let go. And when I say let go, there comes a time in a business where you require not only additional skills in terms of the day-to-day running of the business, but you need serious managers to manage that, to take the business from one level to the next. You need proper leadership. And so in order for a business to move from one level to the next, and I'm going to come back to your recruitment question, the entrepreneur has to then get to a stage in his or her life cycle of the business to say, it is time for me to bring in the right group of people to take this business to the next level.
Yes.
And so businesses fail because the entrepreneur, well, not necessarily just for people, but maybe it's around capital, you know, it could be for various reasons. But I think in terms of the businesses that I've seen succeed and those fail is because the entrepreneur is not prepared to give up to a group of managers that can manage the business and take the business to the next level.
Absolutely.
So in terms of the business cycle, there is the start-up portion, the first few years of the business that requires the entrepreneur, the passion, the drive, the vision. But there comes a stage in the business cycle of that particular organization where a group of managers or a group of people with a specific skill set has to come in, take over, and take the business to the next level.
So your planning actually has to be, how do I eventually work myself
out? That's it.
Yes.
That is it. And entrepreneurs don't realize that. It's a particular type of person that is an entrepreneur. Not everybody wants to start a business. And so I call it the entrepreneurial spirit. Not everybody has the entrepreneurial spirit. Not everybody has the drive and the hustle in them to get something started. But the mistake those many entrepreneurs make is they don't get to a stage where they realize it's time for me to let go and give it to another group of people that are the managers, that have the leadership capability to take the business to the next level.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And that's the fundamentals of saying I want to grow a business, right? I need to already understand at the end of the day, my value starts here and ends here. Yeah.
And what entrepreneurs don't realize is that managers, you then can hold somebody. If you employ a manager to manage your business, then you can hold them accountable. You can hold them accountable to deliver.
Yes.
And if that individual is not delivering, then you can manage their performance, you can manage them, and then replace them and get somebody that is more capable and more competent from a management perspective.
So let's delve into that a little bit in terms of then thinking about, so my journey is eventually I'm going to have a board, that's the dream, right?
Yes.
That's the growth trajectory. And now I'm starting to think about, okay, the kind of recruitments in terms of just fundamentals of the value that your business requires or the operational value, right? What are some of the fundamental people that you need to start considering that are key for your business? And then also, what are the types of recruitment considerations? Especially you were talking about, and I think you mentioned the same, that I don't know, how often revenue is going to come in. I don't, there's a lot of variables, not everything is fixed yet. So how do people consider this without landing at CCMA and landing in hot water with suddenly somebody that they have to pay a huge sum of money to every month?
Well, the business will inform you when and how you should do things, and you've made a valuable point in terms of finances. Do I have the financial or the constant financial income that allows me to bring in somebody on a permanent basis, or is the income very erratic, then you wouldn't bring in somebody on a permanent basis. You would most probably will consult with the small organization as well. Maybe you need to bring in somebody that is going to focus on marketing and social media and the digital space is very, very it's become the way we work, and so as a small business, you might realize that I need to have a social presence, but I don't know how to manage an Instagram account or a Facebook account or a Snapchat account or whatever accounts you need to create a social presence, depending, of course, who's your target market. So you might not necessarily be able to bring in somebody on a full-time basis, but you can consult with an organization that provides that service. And in that way, you then can determine, well, what is my budget for my social media space? I'm using social media as an example.
Yes.
What is my budget? What can I afford? And so you would then be able to recruit or buy that service, maybe not on a full-time basis.
Yes.
Or you might decide, well, I have a steady income. I have a really good contract that is going to carry me for the next 2 years. I would be able to bring in somebody on a full-time basis. But instead of bringing a senior specialist in terms of social media management, and I'm using that as an example, maybe you bring in a junior person, somebody that is straight out of college or university that wants to grow, but from an intern, from an entry-level perspective, and you then are able to. So it depends. And as I want to go back to the point that your business will advise you what you need and whether you can afford it.
Yes, absolutely.
And if I may add, you are quite right, because I suppose each stage and each phase of the business would require different services. And my observation, especially with small businesses, is that they try to sort out too many things at the beginning. At the beginning, it really should be around, seeding your idea, your business, the formation thereof, and understanding very well, the intricacies and the dynamics of the business that you are involved with. So it's a lot that is driven by yourself, in terms of understanding the market, your competitors, the approach to market entry, for instance, all those things, to tick the boxes, that requires largely yourself. As you evolve now, everything, you are manufacturing, everything is suddenly growing. A portion for me that's I've observed gets left behind is the portion of risk assessment.
Yes.
Which is very important, because risk assessment forces you to preempt possible failures.
Yes.
Maybe there wouldn't be too many failures. Yes, we know the stats tells us that it failed, but purely because sometimes there's no homework that is done at the foundation that could say, what if scenario? If this risk happens and it's within my control, what can I do? If this risk happens and it's outside of my control, therefore, what does it do? At that point in time, you'll find that it actually alludes to you questioning if I have a lawyer, questioning if I have contracts in place, at least the standard templates that can say, these are the rules of engagement, this is why I'm hiring you, it's on this terms and so forth. So it's not really about just, business. It says, how can I be a Stembile that has a mini MBA?
Yes.
Because, an MBA takes you out of your comfort zone. I'm a marketer, but until such stage that I was placed in a position where I've had to say, oopsie, I now need to understand the dynamics in finance and understand how to read those books and understand the risk and the supply chain, all those things that are involved in the value process, chain. At that point, that's when you know that if I'm dealing with the legalities from a trademark perspective, do I have those people in place? From a POPIA perspective, suddenly your mind becomes more open, and as you learn, as your business grows and it progresses, you find that your business from a people's perspective as well, they are growing, because suddenly it's at each and every phase you realize that now I need this resource.
Yes.
And my advice would be, do not see, another person's business, and just because they have 10 and you think you're needing 10 as well. That's not how to do it, but rather allow yourself and be kind to yourself enough to understand that this is a journey that I'm evolving in, and because I understand why I'm here, I'd rather win 2 people and then work on conversion. As and when I grow my business, I then get others and I attract others. But you will attract because you've already based it on a foundation that is solid. You've forced yourself to think outside the boxes, other than just, because I know with COVID, just to give an example, a lot of business boomed on Instagram, right? And some were fake, some they lost money. There was a lot of things of crooked fences, if I can use that word, that happened, which are shenanigans. And you feel it's because actually people rushed to launch things on social media before time, or before rather understanding the other risks that are involved. And sometimes you find that they're operating at a loss. So it's crucial. I think part of the thing that is left as a crucial step is that risk assessment, because then it can tell you where more or less you are. And you can do it year on year, just to keep yourself sane and your business sane.
It is so on point what you're saying. We had a previous session where actually the same, like sentiment was raised. Like, you need a lawyer. Those, because you hope for the best. And as you said, you start with this passion and you hope for the best, but you need to prepare for the worst. And preparing for the worst also is about the in-depth consideration of every aspect within that value chain. As you said, like risk assessment. If you understand what your risks are, you can mitigate it.
Yes.
If you understand how to, what good quality looks like, and you're doing the homework, you can prepare for it. So I want to talk a little bit about the risks of hiring people. And I'm going to look at you, Louise, to say, it's a risky business. It's suddenly, you're wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, happy running your business. You start bringing people in and then things go wrong. What are some of those risks that entrepreneurs need to consider, and how do they mitigate?
So the risk is not necessarily in the bringing in the employee or bringing in the individual. The risk lies in managing them, and when you want to terminate their services. So recruitment requires process. And I suppose many entrepreneurs, this is the biggest mistake I think they make, is they recruit family members and they recruit friends. If there's one piece of advice that I could give an entrepreneur, is stay away from family members and friends when it comes to recruitment.
Yes.
Recruit strangers and recruit for competence. Make sure that you have a list of criteria that is required for the job.
Yes.
So I'm giving you a very textbook answer in terms of recruitment, but it's the textbook answer and the following the process that will then ensure that that your risk is reduced. So when it comes to people, you can't, well, I particularly don't say that there's no risk. There's always risk. The important thing for business, whether it's big business or small business, is to make sure that whatever you're doing, your risk is reduced significantly, especially when it comes to people.
Yes.
So with recruitment, follow a proper recruitment process. Jobs are very standard. So if you're looking for a technical person because you offer a technical service or the product that you are providing is technical, then as the entrepreneur, you know exactly what skill sets is required. Recruit for the right skills, recruit for the right competence. But what I want to add as well is recruit the correct attitude and the correct behavior. Because you can teach skill, you can teach competence, but you cannot teach attitude and behavior. So from the recruitment perspective, follow a proper recruitment process.
Yes.
Start off with a small job description in terms of what is required for that job, the criteria or the skill that is required for that job, and recruit for that skill.
Yes. No, absolutely agreed. And I think you also, as you said, bring in other expertise, because you may know that you need an IT person, but you're not an IT expert. So there's nothing wrong with bringing in someone from another organization who is an IT expert to say, assess, whether this person is who they say they are in terms of those things, and also do the vetting. I think, do vetting around people, because there's so many tools and solutions out there to actually vet somebody, because one of the other risks is also fraud and, all of these things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look at you, Stimile, and just talk about the divorce process. Right? Let's dive right in. It's all great when we marry, getting married, and you come into my company and we're all happy. So when things go wrong, it can go wrong in so many ways. So when somebody has to leave the company, it impacts the business, it impacts the culture, it could even impact your finances. What are some of the things that small businesses can think about and do to help with that process? Because it's inevitable that each company has to go through that at some point.
Yeah, you're quite right. But what is important is, before divorce, there would have been other mitigating factors, right? Even in real life, before divorce.
Yes.
So in this instance, I think it's important for SMMEs to always keep in mind that, and be open-minded, that when you bring people, they respond to a spec. And often not, you find that the CVs, they speak exactly to the spec, and you say, how marvelous. And then you end up with a person, but you say, you were so awesome, because the other people are actually great speakers as well. During an interview, they really sweep you up off of your feet, and you think, wow, I have my person.
Yes.
But remember, there's this thing that we call probation.
Oh, yes.
There's probation, there's reviews. Even in small businesses, they ought to happen to save yourself and save the person that is involved. So a probation, depending on how big on the size of the business, others they will say 2 months, others they will say 3 or 6, but let's see. But you will tell the person that I'm bringing you on board to this holy, matrimony, but understand there's a probation, and the probation is set on the ability to assess whether this person that you have recruited is on the right path. They understand why they're here, and they are competent, and they are very much capable. And then you can, then you can extend at that point in time and say, what, now I'm happy, we've signed the probation. It means you're okay. After probation, there's what we call reviews, which ought to happen again. And I think because small businesses, they tend to overlook that aspect, but they don't have to be cumbersome, just very much simple process that you put for yourself in place to review the performance and then get that one-on-one. And in between, there's that feedback sessions that we always call one-on-ones, when we have to talk to your employees. I think first, let's understand that those should be in place long before we get to a divorce stage. So by the time you get to the point of divorcing each other, at least, even if the person takes you in court, you would have, you have the ability to show the journey that we've been, if it's a struggling person, we've been through this probation, and then I still agree that there's been reviews in place, but I just feel performance or maybe the interest, or we no longer share the same vision in that point in time, and then you have to walk away, which is important that at the beginning, when you brought this person, the duration of employment and how you craft your terms and conditions, it's crucial, because you'll have to work with somebody from a legal team so that it can make it flexible for you to work out, in fact, for both parties to work out. And you just put those clauses in places that in the event of underperformance, we shall use this process, and boom, we are out. In the event of something, maybe somebody else is poaching you, you'll have to serve a particular notice. So those are things. That's why when I respond to your questions, I'm very crucial about the foundation, because people can miss each other because of the gaps that were not addressed at the foundation. So let's deal with divorce. Divorce is simple. You are a small business person, and and I'm now divorcing you. You want to take me to court. That's why I said at the beginning it's crucial to make sure that from a risk mitigation, you have a fallback on in terms of the resources that you would need.
Yes.
Can be something that can be resolved amicably with a legal person or a legal representative, in between yourselves at the divorce time. So those are the things that I would think the SMEs will need to consider. Who will be my right wing when the divorce comes?
Yes.
Yes, I've put all these things in place as a checklist. So it's crucial for every process of the value chain to also have a checklist of these important things so that people don't overlook certain matters during the process. So at that point in time of a divorce, I think it's very crucial to have that body that is going to be independent and is not going to be biased and is going to give an overall outcome. But to make sure that you don't lose out as a business, as a small business, and it doesn't go pear-shaped or really in a very awkward way. It's good to make sure that the foundation is dealt with.
Yes.
A foundation meaning the things that I was talking about, that the contract, the processes, your HR processes must be seamless in that you just not cumbersome, complicated, small business, but have those things in place because they will actually benefit you at the end of the day. The divorce will just end exactly like that. You came with nothing, you shall live with nothing. Or I just give you a paycheck.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to come back to the points, and the point that I want to stress is that there is a process in terms of termination.
Yes.
And I'm going to use the word termination and not divorce because that's the correct terminology.
Yeah.
It's termination.
Yes.
There's 3 processes that you can follow, and these processes have guidelines in labor legislation in the Labor Relations Act. So you can terminate on the grounds of misconduct.
Yes.
When an employee has broken the rules, broken policy, is not compliant with the rules of the organization or policy and procedure. You can terminate on the grounds of operational requirements, which is retrenchments. So the business decides that they need to restructure, and you can terminate on that basis. And the third process that you can use to terminate is for incapacity due to poor performance. To your point in terms of reviews, poor performance or incapacity due to ill health.
Okay.
And it's only on those grounds that you can terminate. And so where small businesses make the mistake is that they don't follow due process.
Yes.
And those processes are detailed in terms of guidelines. They're detailed in the Labor Relations Act. And so when you go to court or when you go to CCMA on the matter for termination, with if there's an application for an unfair dismissal or a wrongful dismissal, the CCMA will investigate or review the matter on 2 points, on procedural fairness and on substantive fairness.
Okay.
And so the procedure of how you terminate is very important, and that's why I want to stress it's only on those 3 grounds that you can terminate. Misconduct, operational requirements, or incapacity due to poor performance or ill health.
Can I ask just if I can chip in on the basis where the company is no longer making money?
Because on operational requirements.
So it's going to be on operational
requirements.
requirements.
So but you have to follow the process that is dictated in terms of the guidelines.
Yes.
So even with regard to operational requirements, there's a process.
Yeah.
You need to consult, and there needs to be proper consultation before you get to the termination stage.
Yes, and I think a very valid point, and I'm going to ask in terms of that, the recruitment process again. People are often, a lot of entrepreneurs I speak to go into rather contract, fixed term contracts, and shy away from hiring someone permanently exactly because they don't necessarily understand the processes, right?
But even in that, there's been an amendment to the definition of temporary,
Yes.
the temporary definition within fixed term contracts.
Yes.
So the temporary definition is 3 months. And so so if you keep an employee for longer than 12 months and you want to terminate their services, then you have to follow the operational requirement process.
Yes.
And then if they've been with the organization for longer than 12 months, you have to pay severance. So even if they are fixed term, after 3 months, they kind of take on the same status as a permanent employee.
Yes, and that's what I wanted to stress, that
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. After 3 months, the procedural, the process for termination is the same. And when that recruitment process happens, a lot of SMEs don't consider policies. I mean, they don't consider like, what is this person signing besides the contract itself? Do you have policies in place? What are they, and what kind of expertise do you need in order to put structure that?
So even if they don't have policies in place, they can use the basic conditions of employment to guide them.
Yes.
So they don't necessarily have to have a leave policy or an overtime policy, but if they use the basic conditions of employment to guide them, then they're on the right track. So the basic conditions of employment is the act that dictates or prescribes the minimum that you can do for an employee. So, for example, leave, is dictated. Annual leave is dictated in the basic conditions of employment. So it's 15 days, 15 working days, or 21 consecutive days.
Yes.
So you cannot contract out of that. So you cannot say to an employee, well, my policy doesn't have leave. The basic conditions of employment protects an employee, whether you're working for a small business or whether you're working for a multinational. The minimum that an employee can or needs to provide for is contained in the basic conditions of employment.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to talk about a little bit, Stembile, in that value and, pre-termination, before we even get there. Let's take a little step back and just talk about, extracting real and lasting value out of employees, whether it's culture or work processes. What are some of the considerations for small business in order to create a sustainable, and you use the word retain, because once the person's on board, you need to have that momentum with them. And what are some of the things that you need to put in place?
Look, I mean, my experience tells me that successful companies often have what you call retention strategies. But obviously, being a small business person, it's things that are as small as an employee that plays her part, the best employee of the month. It's things that you can introduce, whether you're given a voucher for the best performer, as long as you can substantiate and you're very much open about the criteria thereof that is being utilized. You can even create things. In my space, I've created things such as, I call them innovation skies or blue skies, where you enable employees to drive and come up with with ideas, and then really, for that matter, if the idea really is a sterling one and it comes to life, then there's a celebratory aspect towards that employee. So there's a number of things. I think it's all about understanding the culture of the organization, understanding your people as well, because I love wine, and people sometimes they give me flowers, and I said, couldn't that have been in a bottle of wine? You're trying to retain me, but actually it's not in my relevant manner. So you have to always consider what resonates, and what resonates, which is resonance. You have to know, do culture surveys. You might be small and it doesn't have to be, as I say, cumbersome thing, but those things, if they're in place, they are there to help you be the best and bring out the best in terms of your people. So that's what I would do. And again, going back to our subject matter that we're discussing, whilst I promote the blue skies, there has to be very clear rules of engagement that whatever output, it's still within, it's for the benefit of the business, because as you were talking earlier on, you know, some people can tell and say, but that was my idea, therefore I demand X for that IP, you know.
Yes,
So one
yes.
has to be very careful and make sure that from a processes perspective and systems, things are there and are in place to protect yourself. But on the aspect of making sure that you retain, people are easy if you show them value, if you show them that you care, you know, you do the basics. We talk about Ubuntu as our core values. Most companies, actually, when you look at their values, Ubuntu is there because it's in our DNA. So it has to come alive, not something that lives on the wall. So it almost as if you must practice what you preach type of an approach. And then an open door policy also encourages a lot of, you know, of a morale that is easygoing, that is approachable, which ends up saying, actually, I'd love to be in this company because,
Yes.
you know, it's more, I feel like I'm a partner more than I'm an employee type of a thing.
Yes.
So, yeah, those are the things that I'd consider.
No, absolutely, I agree with that. Louine, you know, we just came out of a very hectic COVID period, and we've seen, you know, people take a lot of strain, everything from mental health to physical health challenges. What are some of the considerations to continue, you know, demonstrating value and extracting value from employees, you know, with these volatile times, and especially with work from home? How do you maintain that when you haven't seen someone in a long time physically?
So it's important. It's important for the team to come together to, or make time for the team to reconnect. So many organizations are now introducing hybrid models. So it's no longer just work from home, but they're trying to have a combination of work from the office some days and work from home other days. There's various research studies that have taken place in the past couple of months. There has been a significant impact on culture and ethos, and whether on productivity as well. So a large part of what is coming out now in terms of the conversations is empathy and trust. So be empathetic to the employee to really understand what is it that they're going through.
Yes.
But also ensure that you build a relationship of trust.
Yes.
So if organizations are still allowing individuals to work from home, then you need to understand that it's not necessarily going to be an 8 to 5 shift.
Yes.
Or time slot. I can't think of another word.
Yes.
But so the way you manage the employee then would be different from managing the employee in the office in terms of an 8 to 5 time slot.
Yes.
So if the individual is working from home, they might get up at 5 o'clock, work from 5 to 7, take care of the children from 7 to 8, get them to school, maybe run errands. After they have dropped the children off from school, they come back to the house at 10.
Yes.
They work from 10 to 3. When the children come back, then they take care of the kids and take care of dinner. And once the children are in bed, they then go back to their meals from 8 to 10. So it's a different culture, it's a different mindset, it's a different management process. It's very different from the traditional way of managing a team of people that are all in the office in the core hours from 9 to 4, and you're able to meet on a regular basis. You're able to pop into their office and ask a question. So I'm going to come back to the term empathy and trust. It's about creating that, and it's a shift. It's a significant shift from how you manage an individual that you see every day in the office to a person that you're managing remotely.
And I absolutely like that, because we are all human after all, and we want these businesses to succeed. And for you, as you said, it's about buying into why we're doing it, why we're here, and let's speak to each other and take care of each other, and yet at the same time have the fundamentals and the foundations in place to make sure that you protect your business.
Introducing JSE Private Placements, the brand new state-of-the-art digital platform that smartly connects private companies with investors. If you're looking to raise debt, equity or pre-IPO funding for your company, or if you're an investor on the lookout for new investment opportunities, JSE Private Placements is the perfect one-stop platform for you. Powered by next-generation global fintech leader Globacap and driven by the JSE's deep understanding of the scaling up process, JSE Private Placements is revolutionizing the fundraising and investment world. Turn your blueprint into a reality with JSE Private Placements today. Register at jseprivateplacements.co.za. T's and C's apply.
We have run out of time. I know it goes so fast. So I'm going to ask for quick closing remarks. Temile, do you mind if we start with you?
No problem. So as we understand that, owning your business is not easy. But I think keeping the eye on the prize is even more important. And keeping the prize, your eyes on the prize simply says you understand your why. And in understanding your why, you understand the vision and the ripple effect that your business will contribute towards. And I really think what it does, for me, what is important and I will impart as wisdom is your character says a lot. You are in the business, and the success or the failure will be determined by the values and the characters that are embedded in you as a business person. So it's crucial that you have to have that resilience, which is something that we have anyway as South Africans, and most of us are born with it. So being, resilient and being patient, because sometimes people rush to get into businesses so that they can see the return on investment, or even if it comes, they're quick to go and spend, lavishly. So as you do things, few words to really continue is to say determination must always be there. That responsibility, the resilience, and then the passion. Where there is passion, I don't care, no matter how many challenges people throw your end, but passion makes you resurface continuously. So those are the words of wisdom that they need not to lose focus, and they can focus on those.
Very, very well said. Louise?
So I'm a goal-setting coach, and I'm going to answer your question in terms of goal setting. So there's 3 questions that an entrepreneur should start with. What do I want? Why do I want it? And how am I going to get it? So the how am I going to get it is something that it's not an event, it's a journey.
Yes.
You continuously put your foot forward to try and get what it is that you want. But the point that I want to make here is that always go back to what do I want, and why. Remind yourself why you started that business.
Yes.
So yes, you're passionate, very passionate about a particular concept or a particular product or a particular service that you want to provide. Always remember the what and the why.
Yes, absolutely.
The last thing that I want to add is that don't be afraid to ask for help. When you start a business, you're a one-man band. You very seldom have 2 or 3 people that are with you. Because you don't have the capability, the capacity, the finance to do that. So you start off as a one-man man. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes.
There's many organizations out there. There's many NPOs that provide business support and business advice and guidance. And so just put your feelers out and ask for help. There's always somebody that will step in to help you.
That is excellent advice. Sitembele, Louine, thank you so much. This was remarkable. So many great insights. But we've come to the end.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much, entrepreneurs, for joining us for another SME Speed Coaching series. And I hope you have enjoyed this session on optimizing your value chain with a focus on people.